This is a verse that means a lot to me. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. I was born into a Christian family. My mum and dad were heavily involved in church, and I went to church every Sunday and a lot of times twice on a Sunday. I went to Sunday school and also a 759 club on a Friday night, which George and Mamie Key were heavily involved in. I heard the gospel at all these meetings, but never really thought much about it. My sister Yvonne and I were always very close. She plays a major part in my testimony to this very day. We went to all these meetings together, and I also remember a Holiday Bible Club type week in the park in a marquee. Those were great memories. I remember Yvonne not being able to hear from when she was very young. She was in Ballymena Waveney Hospital on 2 separate occasions for operations. I still can remember so clearly crying my eyes out as we left the hospital because we were leaving Yvonne behind, and this happened on several occasions. Even this time I did not think about God. But in between the 2 periods in the hospital, Yvonne got saved at age 8, and I can remember thinking that I am the only one in my family not saved. I don't have a time and date of when I got saved, but one day while primary school age I knew I needed to be saved. I can remember very clearly that I had just finished a meal with Dad and Mum, and I said to them both I wanted to get saved because I did not want to go to hell. Though they told me to pray and ask Jesus for forgiveness and ask him to save me, Dad and Mum showed amazing Christianity to us in their home. And the way they did things, in their attitudes and their actions, they just had real love for God. So I had said sorry to God for my sins, and I asked him to forgive me and save me. At that moment I became a Christian. This is only the start of my testimony, because God wants us to grow in him. I can remember constantly having doubts about my salvation, and we had a mission in the church where Pastor Victor McManus was the evangelist, and on the Friday night I chatted to him after the meeting. He gave me a verse: "Him who comes to me I will in no wise cast out." That assured me so much and encouraged me. I finished primary school and went to high school in 1987. This was tough. I was very quiet, easy annoyed, an easy target for other fellas in the class. I didn't get involved in wrong things, but I didn't really grow as a Christian. I remember my 3rd year at school where I was starting to get some friends, a wee bit easier to be at school, but another fella asked me if I was a Christian. I knew I'd be laughed at, so I said no. That day I felt horrible, and at night I felt like there was a gap between God and me. I asked God to give me another opportunity with this man to put this right. The next day he did. He asked the same question, and this time I said yes, I am a Christian. The blessing that God gave me that moment was amazing. I had a plan for my life, but it wasn't God's plan. When I was nearly 18, I remember having a bad cold, but it led to something more, and over the next 4 months the doctor diagnosed me with having an illness called ME. I'd never heard of this before, but my doctor stressed to me it won't kill you, but he says it'll affect you for years. And over the next few years it kept me in the house most of the time, with muscle pains all over, pure emptiness of body and exhaustion without tiredness. God was really good to me through this. He helped me to learn a lot about him, and he carried me in so many situations. I don't have a lot of memory about those years, only to say that God brought me through them really well. I do remember Dad selling up the farm in 1999 and closing that chapter of the pigs for us as WYLIEs. In 1999 we joined Mackerfell Baptist Church. At the same time they were getting a temporary pastor, Pastor Clive Johnson. It was under Clive's teaching that I started to understand what living as a Christian really is and learning about relationship with Jesus. The teaching I received for those years under Clive I am so thankful for. God has really used him in my life. As I was starting to get better of this illness, I was able to go to a few places, and Nigel Kissick was another man who God used mightily in my life. He was doing local missions round about. God spoke to us Christians through Nigel a lot. Desert Creelan was another man who God used. He was a real help to me in these times. As I was getting better, God put men and women in my life to help me on that wee bit. The challenge was always there to do things for God. In 2003 I started to help Yvonne in a Good News Club. At that time it was called Good News Club, and I also helped her in the Holiday Bible Clubs which she run in Kilcronan Mission Hall. These were always special times and challenging times as you could be doing something out of your comfort zone. Yvonne has been the most influential one in my life though. There's only 14 months between us, but I have always thought of her as very mature in her thinking and her actions. And I have learned so much from her that only God knows. She has been a rock for me in many situations over my life. Her life has been and still is a beacon for God, for me, throughout. As a family, our biggest challenge came in March 2005. As Dad had been unwell for a period of a few months, and we all thought it was a virus, but Dad had been kept in hospital for 17 days from the middle of March to the end of March in 2005. And during this period he was diagnosed with motor neuron disease. This was something I'd never heard tell of, but we did research and the neurologist filled us in a lot about it. Dad's faith in God was immense, and over the next 4 months, as he deteriorated, his faith in God just shone. There was even a time in that period where prayer went up for specific healing, that God gave him brightness for a period of 4 to 5 weeks, before the last 2 weeks of quick deterioration where God called him home on Saturday the 9th of July 2005. This left us as a family without one, and this was a very difficult period for the three of us. During this time, God gave me an opening in the workplace, where I had got a job in insurance brokers here in Tullamore. I will always be grateful for this opportunity. This is another place where God has planted people to help me in my Christian life. We work with customers every day, and I learn a lot from my boss Roberta and William on how to deal with situations as a Christian in this working environment and current climate. God used these people in my life to help me on many different occasions, and this I believe is part of servanthood of God. Back to my time under Pastor Clive Johnson. Pastor John McDermott came to the church in 2005 and started to preach, helping me learn more. God wants us as people to work as well as learn. And I had been involved in outreach doing tracks to start with group on a Friday night once in a month, which later evolved into tea and coffee outside Dorman's nightclub. We were involved in this from January 2006 through to the summer 2013. God continues to plant different people in my life as his child. And in 2012, Yvonne met a man and it became clear God had brought them together. So we were losing her and a very strong backbone of our house. But Mum and I both said we were not losing Yvonne, we were gaining Darren. Darren fitted into our family so well, and this is another one who God has planted, really in the last 2 years, as someone to really learn from and see wisdom and encouragement in many different ways. He's been a real help to me in situations which God has used his wisdom to show me. In September 2013, we came back to Tullamore Baptist, learned a lot under Pastor Pablo Murphy. But in January 2016, David Legg came to do a Bible week in the church. All I could hear God say through him was, "Get out into your town." During this period, I was mulling over in my head, doing a snooker tournament for a few local ones. But it was as if God had said, "Stop thinking about it, just do it." I had one snooker table at this stage. It was outside in a shed and I had purchased it in early 2014. It wasn't doing what I really wanted. But this was now the time to step out, and out of this, God has been so gracious in allowing us a second table, and we have now 35 men involved in playing competitions. God has really challenged me in this last few years about building relationships with different people, which is where my heart is now with the snooker. It's not a popular sport yet, but it's a sport I love, and I'm so thankful God has planted 4 to 5 different Christian men around me to help us on the way with that. God has also planted Pastor Alan Dundas in my life now for the last 2 years, which has been incredible learning times. Pastor Alan does believe a lot in action, which I love. God uses Alan so much more than he realises. The Wednesday nights, the studies are incredible. He gets things out of scripture that are amazing, which makes you so excited. And I personally cannot wait till those Bible studies are back. To finish, God is good. He does expect a lot of his people, but he helps us in every way. He cares for us. He brings meaning to life. He is the reason we are on this earth, and he will fill emptiness in your heart. This is my story, and I give God the glory for my life. Thank you.